from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
A new drought monitor shows continued dryness in the northern plains. Wheat harvest is wrapping up in Texas. And agribusiness looking at soybeans post the acreage report.
So what lessons did we learn? We learned that reports are dangerous.
Ken Ferry has tips on effective cover crops, and grab a cold one this July. It's National Ice Cream Month.
Ag Day, brought to you by the dependable, longest-lasting Chevy Silverado.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Generally hot and dry conditions across the northern plains continues to add more crunch to parched pastures and rangelands and further dragging down crop conditions. Now, the eastern half of Montana sunk deeper into drought this week. While the overall statewide reading is unchanged, the region that's hardest hit spread wider. Now, 13% is in D3 or extreme drought. Last week, it was 6%. North Dakota has a similar scenario where there was a slight improvement overall in the state, but the intensity worsened in the counties in red. South Dakota worsened as well. So how does that translate into crop conditions? In North and South Dakota, corn and soy conditions dropped in both states. Spring wheat actually ticked higher in North Dakota, but conditions dropped in South Dakota and plummeted in Montana by 14 points, where 8% of spring wheat is called good to excellent. In the southern plains, winter wheat harvest is nearly wrapped up. Oklahoma and Texas are now in the mid-90s. In this report provided by the Texas Farm Bureau, Jessica Domel says the crop is pretty good, but the prices don't match.
Amber waves of grain. Every spring, the Texas countryside is decorated with winter wheat, a staple for Texas grain farmers. But this year's harvest is a double-edged sword. Good crop, bad prices.
We've had, ranges bushel-wise from 30 to 60, which is, average, a little bit above average in places. The prices are horrible. Compared to, years in the past where we've sold wheat for $8, now we're selling wheat for $4, $4.50 range. So, it's not good.
Jason farms about 30 minutes east of Waco and Otto. The price he's getting for his wheat is about what farmers got when he was born. Hopefully at least enough to plant a crop next year.
The input costs are still high, so it's gonna be a struggle. Honestly, we don't see making much money. If we break even to keep going again next year, then we'll be in good shape.
This isn't just a Texas problem. The struggle is nationwide. Ben Scholes farms east of Dallas. He's been growing wheat for over 45 years. He's seen his fair share of prices, both good and bad. In fact, the last time acres were this low was 1909.
You're talking about going back in the horse and buggy day, and when farms were powered by mules and horses, and that's an awfully long time to drop the acres that low. It's tough to make it pencil out. And a lot of fellows have quit wheat this year in the Panhandle area where there's the option to graze out wheat rather than go to harvest. We're having the smallest harvest in wheat that we've had in quite a few years.
The low price comes at a time when farm income is down for the fourth year in a row.
With us having 2 bad years in a row the last 2 years, and now this year we're having a good yields, but the prices are down. And it's a struggle. We've always dealt with it, and we'll continue to deal with it.
Much of Jason's wheat is going to Houston to export. Ben's wheat is staying right here in the States for cookies and crackers. Both are hoping to plant wheat again next year. With the Texas Farm Bureau, Jessica Domel, Otto.
Kansas farmers have cut about 3/4 of that state's winter wheat crop. Now to trade matters. The European Union and Japan announcing they have reached an agreement in principle on a trade pact. Talks have taken 4 years, but the election of President Trump adding urgency to the negotiations. The president campaigned on the benefits of bilateral trade deals instead of multinational agreements. Now, following the announcement, the National Pork Producers Council urging the Trump administration to begin negotiations on a free trade agreement with Japan. The MPPC says Japan is the highest value market for U.S. pork exports. Japanese consumers purchased about $1.5 billion of U.S. pork in 2016. In news from our partners at Farm Journal Pork, the province of Manitoba, Canada, continuing to struggle with porcine epidemic diarrhea virus. There have been 49 new sites testing positive for that virus since the beginning of May. Before then, there had been a total of 11 confirmed cases of PEDV between February of 2014 and September of 2016, or about 2.5 years. The current cases have been found in sow operations, nurseries, and feeder operations. On Wednesday, the EPA rolling out new proposed targets for biofuels in 2018. The agency keeping conventional ethanol levels at 15 billion gallons. That's steady from 2017. Advanced biofuels topping 4 billion gallons, including 238 million gallons of cellulosic ethanol. Now on the biodiesel front, EPA proposing a flat 2.1 billion gallons in 2019. Now that holds mandates flat and came as a disappointment to biodiesel backers. The EPA often modifies those volumes as it proposes a final rule. The agency now has until November 30th to accept comments, analyze them, and produce that final rule. Mike Hoffman takes us back to farm country for today's crop comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning to you, Clinton. Ty Brett farms in Louisville, Georgia, which sits between Augusta and Macon. He says his peanut crop is off to a great start this year. NASS says 76% of the state's peanut crop is good to excellent. In Talladega County, Alabama, a crop reporter says another wet week prevented most of the farming activities. Wet weather has destroyed all remaining unharvested wheat, with grain sprouting in the head. And farmers wanting to double crop beans after wheat are having a difficult time getting into the fields. Now let's take a look at the drought monitor real quick. You can see the only concerning area is the far northern plains, eastern Montana, and a spot there in northern Oklahoma and Texas. We'll have your forecast coming up. But first, here are some hometown temps.
Visit farmjournalpro.com. Trusted analysis, professional insight. farmjournalpro.com.
When we come back, we'll look at the soybean market and how recent acreage revelations could impact traders this harvest. And we visit a specialty shop in Wisconsin where the owners are not content with just chocolate and vanilla milkshakes. You may not believe some of the ingredients they're stirring in.
Get the roots your crops need by getting Radiate first. Visit lovelandproducts.com/radiate. See your CPS dealer today.
In agribusiness, it was another turbulent day for commodities. Let's get the details from our friends on the floor.
We are seeing some buying across the board after kind of a weak open in the cattle complex. Live cattle and feeder cattle started a little bit softer. Now working their way higher after finding some buying activity off of good technical support. 112 to 113 was the support pocket we're looking at for the August live cattle. This was resistance at the original breakout point back in April, so this now becomes support on the first test. We've seen a lot of volatility throughout the shortened week, and we're expecting that to continue as we roll into Friday's session. Let's start first by looking at the December corn contract. We've kind of expanded the risk parameters. The bulls really want to get a closeout above 408 1/4 to 490 to get another leg higher towards last June highs of just over 422. Obviously, weather still a very, very important factor over the near and intermediate term, and will continue to be so. So continue to watch those weather forecasts as we go forward. So that's what we're looking at to round out the week. That's what you should be looking at too. It's been Oliver Soap with II Trader from the floor of the CME.
Here at the Agribusiness Desk, I have Bob Utterback Marketing. Bob, if we look back at last week's report on soybeans, everyone was anticipating more soybean acres going in, being planted here because of our spring weather and our tough start plus the price. Right. But USDA kept it steady.
So what lessons did we learn? We learned that reports are dangerous. And if there was guys that had sold corn beans at 10, 20, 10, 30 and rode clear down to 920 and had big profits. So one of the big stories is if you got big profits going into an uncertain report, maybe you should get defensive. And this would have been a classic case of going from a short futures to a long put and maybe a put vertical, because we know the market's still got to July, August. So changing your form, still staying short, but how aggressively you're short is a very important lesson to learn when the reports are very uncertain. Now that we've had the report, and now the greed is now setting in. My gosh, I got the bear caught now, and the funds are going to get long, and I'm going to make all this money. Remember that back in our minds, we all know that we planted more beans, and I don't think USDA caught this. So this is a catch-up opportunity, not a new opportunity. So how do you sell a bounce over the next 2 weeks? Do you sell the cash and be totally committed, sell the board? I tend to say no. This is the time when I would buy an in the money put,
Okay.
a synthetic short futures. And if the market rallies, roll it up. And if I can go up 20 cents for 8 cents, I'm in the play. It's like being short cash, long a call. But you got two positions to worry about here. You only got one position. And then I would wait to fall to sell the cash.
Okay. Okay. Well, some strategies there. Overall, you do expect this number to adjust.
I think this number has to.
The soybean acreage number.
Acres will increase. I think that's the risk. I think the corn acres will decline and the bean acres will increase, but I can't prove that case until probably 3 or 4 months down the way. So these are numbers we have to work with today. Corn acres up, bean acres down. But I think you had to take advantage of the opportunity that's given to you to get your bean profitability sales back into much more profitable area, which is close to the $9.80 to $10 beans.
Get profitable, stay in the game.
Stay in the game.
All right. Appreciate it, Bob. Thanks. We'll be back with more AgDay in just a minute.
To talk with Bob one-on-one, call Utterback Marketing Services, toll free at 800-832-1488.
This is Machinery Pete, inviting you to check out my new website, machinerypete.com, offering farmers tens of thousands of used equipment listings to search. Let Machinery Pete help you find and value your next piece of used equipment.
Welcome back to AgDay. Your meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, as we look at this drought monitor, that northern plains area is still intensifying, even though there have been a few rains here and there.
I know, it was interesting. Our root zone moisture did show a little bit of wetness trying to form there, but it hasn't helped in the drought so far. Although I don't think it's gotten a lot worse over the last week in North Dakota, eastern Montana, parts of South Dakota. But let's go back a month and you can see it was still on the dry side in Florida. Now, we've been talking about this. It's been happening pretty quickly. In fact, you go back and go through week by week and over the past month, and you can see how things have gone away in the southeast. We've gotten rid of some of the areas in parts of Oklahoma and Texas, but it's intensified a little bit there right along the border, the panhandle of Texas and western Oklahoma, and it is continuing to be pretty bad. That has spread back westward into Montana apparently, and it's helped a little bit in the eastern portions of the Dakotas as things have gotten a little better. But these are all just things to look at. We aren't really seeing anything widespread like we do many times this time of the year. Here's the way the maps look. Couple of storm system with cold fronts in the eastern half of the country. The western half, you're just sitting under a ridge. You're just not going to get a whole lot. Showers and thunderstorms along these fronts or near these fronts as we head through this afternoon. Maybe some scattered showers behind it in the Great Lakes. And there'll be a few spotty hit and miss showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon in the western portions of the country. Then as we head into the weekend for tomorrow morning, cold front down into the Ohio Valley, central Mississippi Valley, first one heading off the southeast coast. We'll bubble up with some showers and thunderstorms again in the afternoon along that front. But look at that huge area of dry weather for the Corn Belt. There is another cool front which may move into the Great Lakes in the northeast as we head into early next week. Here's a precipitation estimate over the past 24 hours. We've seen some hit and miss activity, central Appalachians back into the Ohio Valley, parts of the Great Lakes, adding in the next 36 hours. You can see how things do accumulate just a little bit, especially Ohio Valley and a few spots in the southeast who happen to get those scattered thunderstorms. Highs today pretty hot, central plains southward in the 90s, even a couple of triple digits showing up there along the Kansas and Oklahoma border. Lots of triple digits in the southwest. Lows tonight going to stay on the muggy side in the southeast and southern plains, but not too bad. Great Lakes northward, and more of the same tomorrow. We're going to see some pretty good heat from the Plain states into the southeast, but cooler across the Great Lakes in the northeast. That's all because of that trough that's going to sit there for a while through the weekend. It does let up a little bit as we head into next week. That ridge tries to come eastward a little bit, and you can see it kind of goes back westward again as we head toward the end of next week. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, for Ogden, Utah, hot with lots of sunshine today, high triple digits right at 100. Waterloo, Iowa, partly sunny, pleasantly warm, high of 82. And Florence, South Carolina, hot and humid, a spotty afternoon thunderstorm, high of 96.
All right, when we come back, we have tips for effectively managing cover crops on Farm Journal College TV. Stick around, and time to celebrate one of our favorite frozen confections. And at this ice cream shop, they're stirring things up.
AgDay is powered by Ram Trucks, America's longest-lasting pickups.
This week on Farm Journal College TV, as cover crops continue to grow in popularity, working them into a production system can be challenging. Field agronomist Ken Ferry.
Ken, cover crops are getting to be a lot more popular. We're seeing more and more of them out there in the field, but there are challenges associated depending on what kind of cover crop you're using and what time of year you need to be killing that off. Let's talk about planting. And if we're going to plant a corn crop into a cover crop, what do we need to be thinking about?
Probably starts clear back when you planted that cover crop to think what effect does the cover crop have on the cash crop you're going to plant, in this case corn. Some of the cover crops, it's not a big deal, you know, such as our radishes and stuff like that, but some of the other ones, when we start talking about, for instance, cereal rye, there's an allopathic toxin that cereal rye will give off, especially after you kill it.
Okay, what does that mean? Explain.
That means it's almost, if you want to think of it like a herbicide injury to the corn plant, it stunts the root growth, so you see a lot less root hairs, and it's some type of reaction within the soil from this plant that retards the growth of the corn plant itself.
Okay, is there a way around that?
Well, one, not plant a crop that has the allopathic toxin. So, you know, annual rye, for instance, has a lot less issues than what we would with the cereal rye.
Sure.
But if you're going to plant the cereal rye ahead of corn, probably one of the keys would be to kill it 3 weeks ahead of corn, kill it small, and let some of this toxin get out of the way before you'd come in and plant into it. The closer you kill it to planting, or if you plant right into it and kill it, then the risk goes up that toxin could be a problem. Now, it is fairly water soluble, so if you get some rain, untimely rains and stuff like that, you can move that toxin out of the root zone and you have less stress.
Sure.
But it's very similar to what we see in corn on corn. Corn really doesn't like growing where corn is growing before compared to soybeans, and some researchers call it the cemetery syndrome, meaning that corn doesn't like growing where corn is. There's a toxin given off that slows that down. Same thing happens out here within the cereal rye family. You're also going to see it if you're following corn behind a wheat crop, that type of thing. Now, fortunately for wheat, though, we harvested in July and we have a lot of time to get it out of the way.
Right.
Whereas cereal crop, cover crop, you might be killing it days ahead of planting, or you may be planting into it and killing it later. And it is the dying cover crop that gives us the problem.
Still to come, celebrating summer the cool way with milkshakes. But at this place in Wisconsin, it's not your basic chocolate or vanilla.
In the Country, brought to you by Kubota's M5 series, bringing new levels of comfort to hard work. Learn more at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
You know, June is Dairy Month, so keeping with a natural progression, July is National Ice Cream Month. And to celebrate, the Wisconsin Milk Marketing Board is shaking things up with some unusual flavors of milkshake.
When July temperatures rise and you get the urge for a snack, there's nothing like ice cream or a tasty milkshake to cool you off.
The sweetness, the dairy, people just love, you know, all the different flavors and options that we have. You know, it's something about brings you back to childhood. There's a nostalgia to it, and I don't know, who doesn't like ice cream?
Patrons at Deluxe in downtown Madison were enjoying delicious milkshakes to try and beat the early summer heat.
My personal favorite is the salted caramel pecan, and that's just a fabulous flavor. It's made with the Sassy Cow vanilla ice cream, chopped up pecans, and salted caramel.
The restaurant has a reputation for crafting top-notch burgers and specialty milkshakes that have a seasonal appeal and very unique flavors.
Probably most popular one is going to be the chocolate peanut butter pretzel. So we've got ground up pretzel bits inside, chocolate and peanut butter. You've got the salty, sweet, you know, kind of the whole package in that one. So that's a real popular one as well.
Deluxe offers a Shake of the Month, highlighting seasonal ingredients and Wisconsin dairy products. One thing always stays the same, all shakes are made with Sassy Cow's vanilla ice cream as the base.
Everybody loves Sassy Cow ice cream. You know, supporting the community is real important here in Madison, and people just love the product, really. It's a very high quality ice cream.
And that's Wisconsin Dairy News.
Now, shakes are available year-round at Deluxe, and they even offer half-portion shakes if you simply want a smaller portion after a meal or need to satisfy a small craving. That's all the time we have this morning. We're glad you satisfied your craving here. For Mike Hoffman and all of us with AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
AgDay is powered by Ram Trucks, America's longest-lasting pickups.